One day is all you need to fix your vibe coding project. Last week, a friend came to me and he was frustrated because after 2 weeks of vibe coding, everything started getting slower and slower. And he's not a coder, so I asked him, show me your code. And after 60 seconds, I saw why his app was dying. So I explained to him what was the problem and how software engineers actually build apps. Yesterday, we met again. He told me that one day later, he was back at full speed. And I also asked him again, show me your code. And I couldn't believe it. It was incredibly clean and easy to manage. So I thought immediately, this is great. And I decided to make this video because I am sure it will change the way you write code too. So in this video, I will share the 2 tactics that I explained to my friend. So the number 1 is to use AI at the speed of your brain. And the number 2 is to design your product as a Lego set. So now let's unpack both of them. So the first one is use AI at the speed of your brain. There is one thing I call the cycle of prompting and braying. And this is where my friend was. He was typing faster than he was thinking because he didn't have a clear product structure. And his approach was also extremely inconsistent. So he was adding new features, asking questions, arguing with the AI, all in the same conversation. So at that point, I told him, stop typing and close cursor. And we started writing on paper the product logic. And after that, we designed the product as a Lego set. And I will clarify this in a second. So in this first part, when the logic was finally clear, I told him to get whatever we had on the piece of paper and start a separate chat with AI to refine all the concepts and come up with a plan for the product. And then use another AI chat for building that. So just doing this separation. And when I met him yesterday, I saw a change in his mindset. And also the question that he started to ask were very different. So I had the feeling I was now talking to a colleague. This single change was huge because I could totally see that he moved from the passenger seat where he was driven by AI to the pilot seat where finally he was in charge. Now, before moving to the tactic number 2, I want to make sure this first point is really clear because I think this is the actual change that happened. Especially if you have never built production-ready applications, you want to make sure you have a clear understanding of the product you want to build. And to have that clarity, one thing that I do is letting AI interview me. So you can do the same. And this is what software engineers do in their career every day. There are lots of conversation happening before writing a single line of code. You can simulate this interview with a simple prompt that you can download down in the description, but I'm sure you can come up with a prompt that will interview you about your product. This is crucial because if you have a clear idea and you can articulate it well, AI will produce very high quality code. Then another extra tip, if you are tired, stop coding and go to bed. Your brain will serve you much better tomorrow. And I have done this mistake myself several times. So if you're tired, you just want everything to work. So you keep prompting, you will just destroy your code base. So don't do it. So now moving to tactic number 2, design your product as a Lego set. Why this analogy? Because I think this analogy is perfect. So follow me for a second. I love Legos. And the reason is because with any other toy, you have one giant piece of plastic. And if you want to change one small part, you cannot do that. With Legos instead, what you can do, you can swap pieces, you can change colors, you can even expand what you are building. And this is even more powerful when we think about the box. Whenever we open a Lego set, you have multiple bags with plastic bricks inside and instructions. And if you check the instructions carefully, you will notice that they are split into sections and each section is for a separate bag. This is exactly what you need to do before you start generating code. So let's do an example with a web app. A classic design for a web app is called 3-tier architecture. So why is called 3-tier architecture? Because you divide your app into 3 separate layers. So you have a presentation layer, an application layer, and then a data layer. Now, we're going to see all 3 in a little bit more details, but let's start with the application layer. What is the application layer? The application layer is what you see in your app. So the buttons, the colors, the way you navigate from one page to the other, essentially everything that you can see in your product, that is the presentation layer. So why we are separating in layers? Because each layer will solve different problems and it is important to use the right solutions. For example, the languages and the tools that you use in the frontend are different most of the time from the one used in other layers. So that's an important thing to consider when you are creating an app. And I have also noticed when vibe coding, if the agent sticks to one language and one layer only, the results are much better. So now, moving to the next layer is the application layer. In the application layer, you put the logic of your app. And the application layer is also known as the backend, right? So typically in large applications, this is even broken down into multiple components, but this is something maybe for another video. Comment down below if you want me to go deeper on this in another video. By separating the front end from the backend, we already have a big advantage, and because what we can do here, we can use different AIs for each layer. This is important because using the right AI for the job will make a big difference in the result that you get, because some AIs are better at some languages, or some AIs are better at front end or the presentation layer, some others are better at the application layer. So having the ability to pick and choose the AI that you want to use is also a massive advantage. So in a recent project, I have done exactly this. What I have done was using Lovable just for the front end, and I used Cursor for the backend. And this gave me way more flexibility because, as probably you know, Lovable is quite opinionated when designing the backend and also the data layer. So I don't want that to be managed by Lovable. I want to manage that part by myself because, as I mentioned, when you want to scale, your backend will be broken down in the future into multiple components. So having everything managed by a single AI will become too much. So now, completing our layers, the last one is the data layer. And the data layer, I can simplify or maybe oversimplify by saying the data layer is your database, or just your database. And this is where you keep all the information that your app and your user need. So without this, your app is useless, cannot work. So I won't go into the details of the data layer because it's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to explain that choosing an architecture and following an architecture will help you building applications that are robust and solid. So when we operate following an architecture, it's like the Lego set. So where you have a bag of bricks per section with specific instructions. So when we vibe code our app, we want to isolate different layers and give specific instructions to our AI, or maybe to different AIs. And this is fundamental because if you have a problem in the frontend, you can fix just the frontend code without touching other layers. So what I have just described here is a type of architecture that makes your app grow. And once you start thinking in terms of architecture, coding stops being a magic box and starts to make sense. If you want to see how software engineers do vibe coding, watch this video here. Thank you for watching. Stop vibe coding and start building like an engineer.